Today I have the absolute pleasure of reviewing the best 7 Series ever made, the E38. And this is not the 730, which by the way wasn't sold here, the 6-cylinder. It's not the 740. This one is the 750 with a big V12 under the hood, naturally aspirated, 326 horsepower. And would you just look at these proportions? I mean, to me, it just doesn't get better than this when it comes to the 7 Series or BMW era in general. So we're going to talk about this design. I'm going to walk you through it all around it, the front, the side with the proper 18-inch wheels. These are the wheels that I prefer for the 7 Series, the side, the rear, the interior. And then we're going to take this beauty for a drive and see what this feels like, this being a 2000 model. The 2000 BMW 750 iL is powered by a 5.4-liter naturally aspirated V12, putting out 326 horsepower, 361 pound-feet of torque, connected to a 5-speed automatic. It's rear-wheel drive, obviously, and 0 to 60 takes 6.7 seconds. Not too bad for this era of big luxury sedans. Top speed limited to 155 miles per hour. Fuel economy comes in at 13 city, 20 highway. And the price when this was new was $125,000, similar to what the new 7 Series actually costs today. Of course, we need to start with the front-end design of the E38. I mean, the thing I love about this is just how sleek this looks. This one being the 750 iL, the long extended wheelbase. Personally, I actually prefer the standard wheelbase because I think the proportions look more sporty and I don't necessarily need a big passenger seat. But this is the iL, and in the front end we have a very thin front end, and that is what I love about this. When we're going to look at this from a side view, you're going to see just how narrow this fender is up to the hood. It's very hard to imagine that they actually managed to fit, with the height of the hood, that they actually managed to fit a big V12 under this hood. Now, this being the facelifted version, which I also prefer, we have these dips in the headlights right here in the plastic, similar to what we have on the E46 3 Series, for example, and further down. This should, in most facelifts, I do think they started with that in 2001, but another change for the facelift is that this is body colored, which it isn't in this case because this is a 2000 model. This is also the proper confident face that I want to see in BMWs, and what I love so much about this generation BMWs is that we have the top half, the grills being right here, look at this, right in line with the top of the headlights, the lower section of the grill right in line with the lower of the headlights, clear bumper separation between the top half, the lower half of the graphics, intake in the middle, fog lights down here. Is just a stunning design, and this is a car that even if you don't love or even like cars, when you see this front end, you know that this is a BMW. This car to me is all about simplistic graphic or simple graphics and simple, clean, timeless proportions. Again, this is just like the X5 I just reviewed. If you just put some modern touches, some modern graphics, implement the bumpers a little bit more in the body, this would be an absolutely stunning car today. Look at how beautifully these lines flow into the grille here on top of the hood. Again, into the A-pillar, and just creating 2 simple lines on the hood. Very classic design, and a design, again, that will stand the test of time. It's going to be just as beautiful in 50 years as it was back in 2000. Now, looking at the side view of the E38 7 Series, an absolutely stunning design because of the proportions of this car. Look at the shoulder line here, how it cuts in all the way back and cuts in the same area like we have on the E39 5 Series right here above the indicator light up top, and then you have the red brake light. You have the shoulder line going right in this area, looking fantastic. And again, these 18-inch wheels, there are 245s in the rear, and let's see what we have here in the front end. We have 245s all around. I do think that is a good size proportions. Personally, I would not put 19s or 20s on this car. I think that would ruin it wouldn't make it time period correct, in my opinion. And these 18-inch M Sport wheels are the wheels that I would personally want to have on this car. I said I wanted to show you the side view and the hood and just how tight and nimble it feels, even though it is a big 7 Series. Have a look at this height here. From the top of the wheel arch up to the top of the hood, It's just this much distance, and this creates this shark-like design in the front end that is very specific. I think it's only the E38 I've seen for big saloon cars like this that has a beautiful design like that, that it's so narrow and tight and short up top in the front end. This being the IL, you can clearly see just how long the passenger doors are, and that is of course because this was sold to people who sometimes had drivers that wanted to be driven around in this. Creates this still beautiful proportions, but as I said, personally I want to shrink this down and have it be the more sporty non-L version. But the good news here, this was the era when BMW were hammering in the Hofmeister kink. You can clearly see that here. This one is not the Shadowline package because we do have the chrome around here and also the chrome down here. Preferably I would want to have the Shadowline package for my E38, and we also have the double pane glass. You can see that because we have this black outline here going all around the glass, meaning that it is completely quiet inside when you're driving in this car. The E38 was actually designed by the same person who designed the E36 3 Series. His name was Boyke Boyer. You can sort of see some similarities to the E36 here, even though this got a lot smoother and rounded all over the surfaces and also in the graphics. I've always loved this rear end on the E39 and the E38 as well, with these beautiful taillights. Just has this classy, elegant, graceful look to it. This being the facelift, one easy way to tell from the rear end if it's a facelift or not is, first of all, you have the clear taillights. I think that is probably the easiest way to tell. But you also have this chrome piece right here in the middle that you did not have on the earlier 7 Series E38s. A small little detail that I don't think a lot of people notices, but I definitely see that. That's the first thing I see when I look at the car from this view, is we do in fact have, check this out, we do have a small little, I wouldn't call it a ducktail, but a nice send-off of the rear end design here. And what this does is just sharpens up the very end point of the car, creating this boxy solution for the rear end with the curvatures going around the sides. Is just an overall a stunning masterpiece of a car design to me. Now, looking at the 7 Series from a straight rear view, the thing about this is, even though we do have the 750 IL, beautiful right here, V12 in this car. Back in the early 2000s, car brands didn't really want to shout about the sportiness of the car, even though it was a V12 in there. Today, though, that's different. Every single car needs to be sporty, but that's not what this was about, at least not from the exterior design, even though it has very sporty driving characteristics. But if we go all the way down here, we just have this, I wouldn't call it a diffuser, but it's just a part of the bumper. We don't even have exhaust pipes on this, which I think is the right thing to do. Specifically, if we're going to go with the 750. The 740 might be a little bit more sporty. You could have exhaust pipe here, but for the 750, I think it suits it to not have any exhaust pipes visible down low. Let's travel back in time to a wonderful time for BMW, which is 2000. The same year the BMW M5 E39 was launched, we had this beauty. So let's fire this up and listen to this. Sounds absolutely fantastic on startup. Very smooth. It doesn't have a V12 scream to it, which is not something that you want to have in a 750 from 2000. You want it to be smooth. The word that comes to mind when I sit in here is executive. It feels like a car for a CEO or an executive back in the day. Clean BMW layout for the era. It's unmistakably a BMW when you jump in here. It's sort of like the exterior. When you go in here, even though we don't have the badge here, you can clearly tell that this is a BMW. The center console angled just slightly towards you, leather wrapped up top. We do have the wood here, which I think suits the V12 750 instead of having more of a sporty style. Same goes for the exterior with the exhaust pipes not being visible. That's the reason why I want to have wood in here as well, to have the same sort of vibe on the exterior. In the middle, we do have a classic layout of this dash with the 2 vents up top. Very easy to figure out how to adjust these side and up and down. We have a small screen in the middle, very outdated of course, this being 25 years old, but they still had a screen here, and this this, the E38 was actually the first production car to have a TV. You could option it with a TV for the interior if you wanted to. All of these features here, beautifully done. You click that and it folds down like this, showing you that we do have a cassette player back here. Something that I don't think a lot of people are going to use today, but it's still a very cool feature. And just look at how beautifully this still works. It still works like brand new, like most BMWs I've reviewed from this time. You have all these buttons here, info, feeling very nice to just fiddle around with these buttons. Still feels very, very solid. The presets for the radio here and some tuning and menu selections here on the right side. You have the volume knob here. We have some static going on right now. Further down, we do have dual climate zones here. Same buttons like we have in the 5 Series of the time and the X5 as well. And they feel just as solid in here. In addition to the 2 temperature zones, you also have 2 zones for the fan speed. So if your passengers want to get blasted with air, they can actually choose to have that with their separated fan speed button here. And then the driver have a separated on the left side. You have the where you want the air to blow out from. All the LEDs still light up and work here, and some more buttons down here at the bottom. You even have ventilated seats from the year 2000 and heated seats in 3 different levels. Moving further down here, this looks absolutely stunning with this wood texture. You have a ashtray right here, hazard button. Also works perfectly fine. You have the gear selector here going into reverse. Very easy to just go through these modes here, drive, neutral, and reverse. If you want to, you can still shift manually by moving it over to the left side and move the shifter up and down. Let's go back into park here. Move further back. We do have used to be a phone here, not available in this specific model. You also have 2 small little compartments here for the passenger and the driver in this leather wrapped armrest. You can also slide this back and forth, and you have some more storage right here underneath. Now looking at the steering wheel here, this being a 2000, meaning that we do have the 4-spoke steering wheel, a little bit older style for the steering wheel, but the buttons still feel very, very solid. You have heated steering wheel here as well, and you have the radio buttons on the left side and the cruise control buttons integrated beautifully in a way I haven't really seen in a lot of cars on the sides of the center portion of the steering wheel. There's also gray leather up top when you have the black leather on the sides. The gauge cluster, very, very typical BMW for this era. Let's rev it a little bit. Oh, it's a big V12 under there. Nicely integrated gauge cluster here with a typical layout for BMW of the time. You have the white dials on the black background, 113,000 miles on this specific 750. You have the washer stock on the right side and the indicators, of course, right here on the left. Beautiful looking seats for a 25-year-old car. You have this gray leather here, pretty decent bolstering on the side. These are of course more for comfort. They look like just chairs that you would have in your living room. They're very, very comfortable. Power adjustable both for the passenger and the driver as well. Looking up top, we do have a standard size sunroof in this car. And again, I'm coming back to this smell of the BMWs of this era. This also has this specific BMW 2000 to 96 to 2001 smell. It's also intact in this car. So we talked about the front end of the interior. Let's jump back and see if I can fit behind my own driving position. I think I probably will, since that's what pretty much the IL is for. All right, jumping into the back seat of the 2000 BMW 750 IL. And as you can see, I mean, check this out. I can just lounge back here. It doesn't matter how far we're going. I would be extremely comfortable back here. Tons of leg space thanks to the extended wheelbase. Tons of headroom as well. Even if I sit up like this, I still have a lot of headroom, and that has to do with this straight line of the greenhouse, the top of the roof, like we don't really have in today's cars. Everything needs to slope down a little bit more. They were a lot more boxy back in the day, helps the interior space. You also have this little footrest cushion down there in front of me. If we fold down the center armrest, we don't have cup holders here. Instead, we do have some storage space in the center armrest. Very interesting. I would love to have some cup holders back here. That would make it a perfect road trip back seat. Okay, let's roll off in the 2000 BMW 750 IL. What a special occasion this is. The big V12, 5.4 liter V12, 326 horsepower, 361 pound-feet of torque in this beauty. 0 to 60 in about 6.7 seconds. Again, by today's standards, not the fastest car, but it is so silky smooth, this thing. From where I'm sitting, it doesn't feel like I'm driving a big 7 Series because it feels very tight in here. That's what I love about the E38 7 Series, is that it almost feels more sporty than a big saloon or big luxury sedan. Now, it first came out in 1995, and it quickly became the best-selling 7 Series ever made. And then it was replaced in 2001 when Chris Bangle came in and gave us the E65, which was a complete departure from what we've seen from BMWs previously. Some people like it, some people don't, but the fact remains that the E65 was actually it sold really well, even though the design was a little bit funky and a little bit what we're not used to seeing from BMW. I do think Chris Bangle knew what he was doing. We're at a red light here, and once we go green, I'm just gonna floor it, and let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. Five-speed automatic, not the quickest shifts, but it really doesn't matter when you're driving a car like this. It's about the how the car makes you feel, and it's about you doing everyone. I feel like everyone outside should pay me a fee for watching this beauty roll by, because it is such a beautiful, beautiful, stunning car. This one has done 113,000 miles, and again, it feels just as solid as you would expect a 7 Series from this era to feel. As long as you take care of them, they could last forever, these cars. And the V12 is actually more, it's considered to be more reliable than the 740. And the cool thing about the 740 though, that was the last 7 Series to offer a manual transmission. And how cool would that be to have a short wheelbase 740 with a manual transmission? And off we go, just soothing, relaxing, so smooth to drive this car. Can't hear anything from the outside thanks to these double pane windows. If we roll them down, you can hear all the noise of the busy outside world, but you want to be in your cocoon in your 750, and that's exactly what you're getting with this car. Let's check the turning radius here. I'm really surprised by the turning radius of early 2000 BMWs. I mean, this is the long wheelbase. No problems at all, and I entered that turn pretty late. No problems just whipping it around. Oh, I really enjoy driving this car. I think what I like most about cars, you also have, of course, power tilting or adjusted steering wheel here. But what I love about this era of car is today, even Mercedes are implementing TikTok in their native software system, and it just blows my mind where we've coming from, this type of era when there was no distractions in the car, just you going with the V12 for a drive like this, just calming your mind. You don't get bombarded with notifications and, you know, a new video every 5 seconds. It was a different era. I do understand that we have to move forward from that area, but I don't think that we're moving necessarily into the right new area when it comes to driving. And that is the main reason why more and more, the older I get, I just appreciate older cars so much more now than I did when I was 15. The changes I would make to this 750 is I would first of all get the shadow line package, which I do believe was available in 2000. So everything that's chrome is now, instead of being chrome, of course, blacked out. And I want to have the facelifted body panels on the lower section on the side, lower section in the front end, and also the lower section in the rear end. The wheel and tire setup is exactly the wheel and tire setup that I want to have for the 750. And Not sure if it was sold here in the US, but as I said before, I want to have the shorter wheelbase. Not sure if you can get that here with the 750 though. What a great day it is today, driving this old smooth V12 750. Huge thanks again to European Auto House for providing this car. Specialize in European car, of course, the name European Auto House. Go check them out in the link in the description. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.